Hello and welcome to the Reignited Mums podcast/YouTube channel. My name is Emily Sampson. Welcome to today's episode. And today I am going to be talking all about emotional eating because having worked with hundreds of mums now online for weight loss and training them in person, I know the thing that is really getting in the way of mums getting their ideal body, especially when they are in their 40s and beyond, is emotional eating. And you can have the best program in the world, you can have the best training, you can have the best movement, you can have your sleep on point, you can have your stress on point, and still emotional eating may get in your way. And actually, it's what we do a lot of work on in my Reignite program because it is so common for mums. Okay, so first of all, what is emotional eating? So emotional eating is when you have any sort of emotional attachment to food and or alcohol. Okay, so as an example, when I was younger and I was at school, my mum used to take me and my sister for an iced bun. Do you remember an iced bun from the bakery, from the local bakers? Quite a lot of the time. It wasn't like every day. Maybe it was like towards the end of the week. And so after being away from like my family home and being away from my mum all day at school, coming home and having this iced bun, it created a source of like a sense of comfort for me, a sense of happiness. And I didn't realize at the time, obviously, but like that is a emotional connection that I had made to that certain food. So sugar, or maybe it's like baked goods, for example. And actually, as I got older and when I wanted to lose weight for the first time, when I was in my early 20s, that food really got in my way because I was still eating that food anytime I felt any sort of negative emotion or I was wanting comfort or happiness. I would eat a baked good, and actually it was cake a lot of the time. And I had connected that food with making me feel better, when actually food, even though it tastes good, and today, in these days, they actually use labs. It's actually outrageous, but they use labs to make food taste so unbelievably amazing. They even like adjust it so that the texture is so good, so that you want to eat more, basically. So there is that physical aspect of like, yeah, food tastes good, but actually what's happening is we're creating these emotional attachments to foods. And for a lot of people, as I've just used an example with me, like you make these attachments in childhood. Okay, so maybe it is your parents and it's not their fault, but like giving you sugar to make you feel better when you're upset. And you know, whether it's in childhood or adulthood, we form these emotional attachments to food. And it's really hard because like obviously there are social occasions like birthdays, for example, where we have cake, and it's like we associate birthdays with cake. And it's not to say that we can't have things like that, but when you want to lose weight, these attachments to certain foods will always get in your way. And we really see this, you know, with a lot of people who even, you know, do get an insane weight loss results, and maybe they've tracked their macros and they've been on point with everything and they've done all their training, and but then when they've finished and they've got to where they want to be, they then go back to how they were before because they haven't actually addressed the emotional attachment that they have to food. So maybe they've been able to shelve that for a certain period of time, but then it's always going to come back because they haven't actually addressed, the underlying emotional attachment that they have to foods. And until they actually address that, and this may be for you as well, and for me, until I addressed my emotional attachment to food, it will always stay stuck. Whether it's that you go back, you know, within a few months or within a few years. And it can be really hard to find this kind of, I call it a grey area, where, you know, we're not black and white with like, you know, we don't use food at all for emotional reasons, or we totally use food for emotional reasons. But there can be this grey area where it's like, when you are in control of having certain foods, for example, the birthday cake, you know, that's where we want to be. We don't want to be emotionally driven to food. We want to be able to control and have a choice and be like, okay, it's my friend's birthday, I'm going to have some cake. Or it's my son's birthday, I'm going to have some cake. Not like, it's my son's birthday, I know I'm going to eat like the whole freaking cake. We want it to come from a healthy place, okay? So that's what emotional eating is. And people have different emotional attachments to food, and you may not even realize that you do. But for mums especially, Um, yeah, so when it comes to mums, when we're looking at the emotional attachment to food, what I find is that a lot of mums, and we all live that mum life, okay? So we know, and everyone's life is different, okay? But we know the certain challenges that mums have when it comes to mumming and mum life, okay? Whether it is that you have just got, you are working and you're flat out, you're also doing all the house stuff, the house admin, we have the mental load as well. We are go, go, go all of the time. It is a lot, okay? We know in today's society as well, we're not all living close to our family, so we're not having all of that help. If you can afford childcare, then we're using childcare, or we're not. And it's like, there is a lot to do. And the way mums' brains are wired, whether it's right or not, compared to men's, even though your partner may be like the best person to work with you on everything, mums just are. We are thinking ahead. The mental load is like a live feed, as I've said before. It's like one thing finishes and then one thing comes on. It's stressful. We've got a lot on. We have these pressures on us, and we love our kids so much, but it is a lot. And this is the main thing that I see driving mums towards emotional eating, is the basically stresses of mum life that are mounting up on top of us, and then we are using food and or alcohol as a release from that pressure, basically. So this is the emotional attachment that we're having with food, and the connection could have been made in your childhood, but and maybe you haven't even known about it the rest of your adult life, but now you've got kids and we have these stresses. And as I said, I'm just giving examples, like it's could be totally different for people. But when we have emotions that we are not actually dealing with properly, we are just masking them with food. I always say it's kind of like a plaster. So maybe you're just, feeling some sort of like emotion, like, oh my God, everything's so stressful, it's all mounting on top of me. I'm just going to eat the chocolate and feel better. For a moment, it's a plaster, okay? Like a quick dopamine hit almost, to be like, oh, I'm feeling these feelings. This food is going to make me feel better. And yes, it tastes nice, but it's also that emotional attachment and reliance that we have got with food. And the more that we do this, the more it's strengthening that emotional attachment to food. And that's why so many people that I speak to, like mums, they will say, like, I cannot not eat my feelings, basically, they're saying. Or they don't even realize that that's what they're doing. But it's like, I have to have a bottle of rosé on a Friday night, or I can't relax. Or when I sit down on the sofa after the kids are in bed and I've had my dinner, I can't stop myself eating a whole packet of biscuits or a whole bar of chocolate. This is because we've really just made such a link with the food making us feel better from mum life stresses that we feel like we're out of control, basically. So hopefully I've given you an outline of what is going on, basically. And now I'm going to talk about what you can do about it. And obviously I'm not going to go too in depth in this episode, but this is a huge area that we help our clients with in Reignite. The main thing that's going on here is that we need to look at detaching, feeling a feeling that maybe we don't like or we perceive as negative, and eating certain foods, or excess eating of those foods, okay? Because I'm all about being sustainable. I don't think you should cut anything out. And especially if you have got a problem with overeating a certain food, we don't want to be cutting that out. We actually want to address our relationship with that food, or again, it's always going to keep us stuck. So this is about getting to root causes of things that are getting in the way of us losing weight and actually addressing them, because for the long run, you are going to have food freedom. You're going to be able to get weight loss results more easily and also keep them afterwards. Because in my opinion, there's no, apart from health reasons, if somebody's very overweight, losing weight and then rebounding, the yo-yo effect can actually be worse for you, because then you feel like a failure, and that's the worst place to be, because then that can trigger self-sabotage. So we want to get to the root cause of what is going on with the emotional attachment to food, and then we want to work on detaching it. And for mums, really, it is this pressure of mum life. Maybe you've got pressures from work as well. Things going on for you that maybe other people don't have, but there are these more negative emotions that you may perceive that they are. And instead of addressing those emotions and feeling those emotions, you're eating something. So what we want to do in the first place is actually like address the emotions that you are feeling and putting a bit of a like stopgap in place before we're eating the food. Okay, so the first thing that you can do is like implement what I call like a distraction or like a replacement or just a pause, slow things down. The next thing that we want to do is actually recognize the feelings that we are feeling. And for most mums, they actually need a bit of headspace or just a bit of space, a bit of time, a bit of pausing. Most of us are like go, 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 go. We're totally filled with everything. And if we're not doing something, then we're thinking about something and we're just like, we're flat out and we are burnt out. So with a lot of my clients, I start to implement like a bit of headspace, whether it is literally just like going on a walk and for 10 minutes, you're not even listening to anything. Because a lot of the time we'll be like, okay, I'm going on a walk. I need to listen to a podcast about like child development or nutrition or something like that. Don't listen to anything. Be alone with your thoughts. And some people are literally like, Emily, no, that's the worst thing. And I'm like, this is the thing to help you with your emotional eating. So that's the first thing that we need to do is put in place something that's going to just, for the moment, stop you just driving straight to the food. Then we need to actually start to like feel the emotions that we're feeling so that we can address them. I'll use something called the emotions wheel, which can actually help you pinpoint the exact emotion that you're feeling, because it's not just enough to be like, oh, I feel stressed. What are you feeling stressed about? Let's get into this. Like, what is it? What's the driver of the stressor? And often we can't actually improve the thing that's causing us stress, but we can improve us and how we feel about it and maybe create some space somewhere else so that we're better to deal with those emotions. Because all of this is about actually just like feeling your emotions, and we don't do that as mums very much because we're looking after everyone else and everything else, and we're like, we come last. And again, this is, as I talk about in a lot of my content, it's a prioritizing thing. We're not prioritizing ourselves. When you start to prioritize yourself a little bit more, you get a little bit of headspace, even if it's small. Some of my clients, I get them to just sit for 5 minutes and have a cup of tea. I know for some people they'll be like, well, I can't do that. How, is there a way that you can, for 5 minutes, just sit calm. And then we also look at meditation and journaling as well in my Reignite program, but we find the way that's going to help mums to slow things down. And then we really start to look at this emotional attachment to food. And as I said, it's not about cutting those foods out. In fact, it's about keeping them in and then addressing this, because this will always keep you stuck if you are just plastering over emotions with food. So hopefully I've given you like a bit of an overview about emotional eating. And if you're like, oh my God, this is what I'm doing, then this may be the thing that is getting in the way of you actually getting your ideal body as a busy mum in her 40s. And this is exactly what we do in Reignite. We really help our clients with detaching the emotional reliance on food. And this is why we get such great results, because we go deeper. We're not just giving you a macro target and a calorie target. In fact, we don't actually even track our calories. We use food frameworks because we want food freedom ultimately. We are not just giving you like some generic training plan and then sending you on your way. We really talk about the things that are getting in the way of why you have not been able to lose weight on your own if you've been trying on your own. We support you through all of this. And I absolutely love helping my clients with this because I've obviously been through it myself. And it is literally life-changing. So hopefully this episode has helped you. And if you want to know more about how Reignite can help you with your emotional eating, you can message me Reignite on Instagram at The Reignited Mum, or you can get in touch below, DM me the word Reignite, and we can have a chat. And I will see you next week on the next episode.